As someone who's reviewed hundreds of actors, today I'm about to deeply review and rank every single actor in the new Marvel show, Echo. Throughout this review, I'll also expose some secret acting techniques used by these actors that make them great, and why this grandma is the best actor in the whole cast. Now ladies and gentlemen, starting it off, let's talk about Kingpin, that psycho fat uncle in the white suit. Also really quickly, side note, we're gonna be reviewing every actor's serious, sad, and happy scenes, these three right here, and we're doing this because we're looking for emotional versatility. We don't want an actor that's really good at just one thing and can't do literally anything else. Starting it off with Vincent D'Onofrio's sad scene, here we can look at episode 1x1, 18 minutes and 20 seconds in. When he's offering Maya a job, we can clearly already see he's very good at being manipulative. We know deep down Kingpin is an evil guy, but he talks in a very low, compassionate tone.
You have greatness in you. Take your hurt.
This, in acting terms, is known as subtext. Subtext essentially means putting on a front while hinting at some ulterior motive. So Vincent uses subtext very cleverly here, and even though his words were pure, his tone and body language suggested something more sinister, which already has us viewers hooked because we're listening to something, but we're seeing something else. Like whenever you watch a Jordan Peele movie, the reason you can tell something is off or something feels a little bit fishy is because you're seeing something, but you're hearing dialogue that is different.
This was just telling me how he felt much more comfortable with my being here.
Now we'll finish this category off in a second, but first let's build onto how the manipulation grows in the show and talk about a serious scene in episode 1x4, 32 minutes and 30 seconds in. In this specific scene, Maya comes back to Fisk to kill him again because somehow a bullet to the eye just, I guess it doesn't kill you? Sweetheart, I don't know. But here, thanks to some great fast acting, Fisk manipulates the entire whole story by saying things like, remember when I took care of you and it was just me and you? The reason Vincent did a great job at showing manipulation here is because of two things. Firstly, obviously because of that sad sob story. Oh my god, my father beats my mother with a hammer. Oh, please. But secondly, because of an acting term known as vocal modulation. Vocal modulation is the first of many key acting terms I'll teach you guys about, and this is when an actor changes their tone in the middle of a conversation to give off some different emotion or vibe. If I said, oh, I expected nothing less from someone like you, like see how that you right there was the lower tone and it actually made it even more depressing. Now back in our example, here's how vocal modulation was used. When Maya first confronts Kingpin, he employs a softer, almost nostalgic tone when he's like reminiscing about caring for her, which creates a sense of cute love and oh baby Maya, we used to be so close, like all that.
I can't remember a time when I haven't loved you like a daughter.
But now, as the conversation slowly continues and Kingpin gets to the part about him killing his own father, his tone ramps up. It becomes more intense, higher pitched, and there's a scarier delivery.
All the people you killed for me. Did you plead for their lives? Here, free yourself. Go ahead.
This shift was executed so well and was very impactful because we could subconsciously see the change in tone. We could see it happen in real time. If the whole time Kingpin was talking in the high, intense voice, then the story about him killing his mother wouldn't be different because the whole time he's up here. But since he started down here and that story ended up here, this had a lot more impact. Overall, Vince, you did a great job employing vocal modulation, so I'd give your serious acting a 8.7 out of 10. Now, if we go back to his sad moments, let's look at maybe the most emotional and sad moment of Echo so far. When Maya touches Kingpin and he firsthand relives his most traumatic memory. The memory of his father beating his mother. This happens exactly in episode 1x5, 27 minutes and 20 seconds in. Here, Kingpin shines and portrays the pinnacle of sad acting. And to understand why this was such a powerful, sad scene, let's tie in our next acting technique that was used here, known as the Stanislavski technique. I don't give a crap, baby. I don't care. Now, the Stanislavski technique was originated from Konstantin Stanislavski, a Russian director born in 1863. To keep things short, it basically teaches actors to jot down exactly everything they know about the character they're playing. Even very specific things such as the environment they live in, their relationships with one another, their love life, if they're subscribed to Kosher Reacts. If you're not subscribed to me yet, by the way, make sure you subscribe, sweetheart. Now. Anyways, the reason these actors jot down these specific things is because now if they're told to act out a specific moment, such as being sad, they aren't simply being sad in the moment, they are diving into how the character would feel in the moment, what the scene itself means for the character, and after understanding all of that, they are pulling from that emotion.
He advocated for a complete immersion into the character's psyche, which would then project a more believable and engaging performance.
And Vincent certainly used this technique here and cried while keeping in mind the context behind the scene. He played out what it actually means to be a child in an abusive childhood. And a really good thing we can point out about the cry, it's a silent cry. It's not one one of these over top cries that these B-list actors do where it's like like, you guys know when something really traumatic happens, like take for example The Flash, when Barry Allen's mother died, he was literally crying without a voice. He was in such raw pain that a silent cry was all that could come out. Oh my god. Vincent, we're gonna give your sad acting a 9.1 out of 10 here. Now moving on to his happy scene, unfortunately this bald man doesn't have much happy scenes in the show yet, so we'll have to skip this category here for him, and averaging out his sad and serious scenes, he gets a total of 17.8 out of 20, aka 89%. And I'm not gonna lie, it's a very high percentage, but let me just tell you, some of these next actors we're about to talk about easily beat this percentage by far. But before we get to some of those, let's quickly talk about a fun one. Let's talk about spicy Latina 26-year-old Maya, acted by Alaqua Cox. I'm not gonna lie guys, the whole cast is based on like Indonesian people. I think like indigenous whole cast is based on indigenous people, so all these people are from a specific tribe, I'm pretty sure. It's very hard to say our names, I'm sorry. Alaqua Cox, like I don't want to butcher it, but I'm sorry, it's hard. Alaqua Cox, I'm really proud that you're actually a deaf amputee and you're showing that in the show. That's very good, but his acting, very good for you. You see what I did there? Yeah, you like that? Yeah. Let's find out, sweethearts. Firstly, when it comes to her sad acting, she's actually nerfed because she doesn't get to use any words. So acting techniques like vocal modulation that we talked about earlier is completely off the table. But even with this God-given nerf, she does a phenomenal job using just raw hand and body language. Let's look at episode 1x1, 14 minutes and 50 seconds in, when tragedy hits and her own father dies. Here you can examine the way she cries, the way she pulls him in for a final hug. Even though she's just now making it on the big screen, you can clearly see by the movements she's experienced at this. And if you fast forward just a couple minutes at 18 minutes and 20 seconds in, here it's very important to note she can make great use of her eyes to show worry and empathy. In this moment, Kingpin told her her own father died, and she didn't make any screams, she didn't do any crazy movements, it's just simply the way she looked up at him. That right there was very powerful. The pupils showed off such a great amount of empathy and raw emotion. This in the acting world is known as eye acting, and there's actually a whole genre and teachings of how to eye act good. And matter of fact, you can look at these insane 4 tips related to eye acting that just goes to show how much even the slightest eyelid movement can mean in terms of gesture and what you're trying to show. Like take a look at number 1, where if your upper eye simply relaxes, it means you're getting bored. I didn't even know this was a thing, so let's try it out. Ready? Was that good? Was that good? Was that good? Or what? Whoa, was that good or what? Whoa. I pretend you guys are telling me a boring story. Oh yeah? Yeah? Oh, I think I ate that. Taking into account her great eye acting with the sad scene from earlier, I'd give her a solid 8.4 out of 10. Now moving on, when we talk about her serious scenes, let's address them by looking at her combat. You can clearly see her face shows resilience, actual raw pain and effort into her fighting. You can clearly see she moves very fluidly, which is very rare, and she does a solid job in her fight, such as her first fight with Daredevil at 24 minutes into the episode. But ladies and gentlemen, all is not great because I think they really missed a big opportunity in the combat. As you guys know, she's an amputee, so she literally has one metal leg. I think they have a really big opportunity to make that a weak point in her combat. So whenever she's in a fight, she has to find clever ways to overcome her opponents, find ways to maybe use her metal leg. Maybe one time she picks up the metal leg, she throws it at someone. Like there's a lot of different things you can do. And she's also deaf, so you could have enemies like using that to their own advantage. But it seems the directors really overlooked that and just treated her as a normal girl fighting. I think there was a lot more opportunity there. Come on, baby girls, come on. Anyways, the next thing we can review about her serious acting is her micro expressions. This is a specialized skill where actors only slightly change their facial expressions to give off a subtle message. Let's take a look at 30 minutes and 54 seconds into episode 1x2 when she first sees the clay figures of the woman she's been having visions of. Here, it's important to note that her Latina face actually helps a lot in these micro expression scenes, because here, if instead, for example, you take the nicest wholesome face you've ever seen, if they simply tried to use micro expressions to show off curiosity or seriousness, it would not have the same effect. Literally, some faces aren't meant for it. Alaqua Cox, your serious acting gets a 9.3 out of 10. But ladies and gentlemen, now when we go to our happy scene, things aren't happy. This will be the first place for her where I take off some points. Now sure, many of you guys can ramble away in the comments and say that her character is not meant to be happy, so it's unfair, but even in scenes where her character should be showing off some appreciation, such as episode 1x1 when she bumps into her cousin Biscuit, I personally felt like a smile or some happiness was really necessary, and she really just didn't execute that. I personally believe her angry girl persona, always having an attitude, actually does get tiring after a while, and I don't want to see that for 5 whole episodes over over and over. I want to see you happy here and there, baby girl. I want to see you happy. If you take another instance in episode 1 times 2, 20 minutes and 30 seconds in, when she slightly smiles on the train, I truly think a great actor would have executed the happiness on a much larger scale. Like, Maya, you did what you wanted. You placed the bomb on the train. Now show me that you're happy. Don't give me a little, show me real happiness. Like, you're clutching your shirt. You're like, you know what I mean? Like, I know you guys know that exact scene I'm talking about, where actors just, they overjoy themselves. They're like, you know? She didn't give that. Perhaps involve more body language or involve some eye acting. All these other terms we learned about today, she could easily implement those to show off much better happiness. So unfortunately for you, Alaqua, in this happiness category, I give you a 5.6 out of 10. Averaging out to an overall 23.3 out of 30, aka a 77%. Now, if you baby girls remember, all the way in the beginning of the video, I said that Grandma Chula, who's played by Tantoo Cardinal, was the best actor in the entire show. So now that we made it this far, baby girls, let me explain why that's the case. Now, there's two main reasons why Tantoo Cardinal is the best actor in the show. First, she's hot as hell. I love wrinkles. You're such a wrinkly, sexy girl. I love you. Secondly, she is the master of eye acting. Like, genuinely, the actual master. Let's look at the following scenes that display why she's the master of this. Firstly, in the happy/funny category, let's look at episode 1 times 2, 31 minutes in, when she's telling her neighbor she let Biscuits borrow her car. The same car that came wrecking down the street because, well, Biscuit can't drive at all. Pay attention to the eye batting and the wide-eyed funny stare she has going on. These micro expressions seem so subtle to many people, but I bet if you put 10 people in a room and ask them to replicate this, I genuinely bet only 1 or 2 of them could do this. I give her funny acting a 9.4 out of 10. She's literally able to cause comedy only using this area of the face, unlike a lot of people where they need to use their whole body language to make themselves look funny. Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart. What was that? Was that you? But let's not stop there. Now let's talk about her serious scene where she does even better. Let's look at episode 1 times 3, 9 minutes and 20 seconds in, when she's trying to get information out of Scully about where Maya is. Notice how in this scene, her eyes are doing most of the work. Her head and her hands barely move, but the eyes are widening. They're looking far left, far right. And you combine that with her wrinkly face and it just gives off a piercing actor with a lot of emotion pent up in the face. But it doesn't stop here. Let's talk about her next serious scene and how she uses a very clever acting technique known as beats. And not the beats you get in a random alleyway at 7 o'clock because you wanted to be annoying and rude to a deaf girl. Like, you guys get it? Because like, he was rude to her and then like he got beat. You guys get it or no? Anyways, beats are defined as long pauses in between dialogue, which gives emphasis to whatever word/accent comes next. Hey guys, I love you. You guys see the little pause that was between hey guys and I love you? That was because the I love you had more emphasis now. You guys get what I'm saying? Compare that to hey guys, I love you. See how like the I love you doesn't have as much importance here? Here in episode 1 times 2, 14 minutes in, the granny is using long pauses when she stares out, which builds importance to her words.
As influence. I think we can both agree. Let's hope that's it then. And that Bonnie doesn't find out. That was a long time ago. Yeah.
Once again, it doesn't stop there. Let's keep the seriousness going. Let's talk about episode 1 times 4, 25 minutes in, when Chula tells Maya the real story about her visions. It's clear she's great at using her hands, but here what stands out is she's using her hands in a slow way. That's the very key and important part here. Instead of being all like this, she's like, this, Maya, the reason here, the reason sussy baka, like it's slow. Unlike Henry, who we'll talk about, has very sharp and rigid movements, her physical acting is fluid and calm. Have you guys heard the saying people say, don't look like you're ever rushing somewhere because you look unimportant, you look unconfident, you look unorganized? The exact same thing applies here. Chula is patient with her hands, which makes her so much more confident and such a daddy alpha. I give Chula's serious acting a 9.8 out of 10, which averages her final score out to be 19.2 out of 20, aka a 96%. Oh my god, bro. I thought only a number that high would be Chula's age, but she got that score too? Damn, Chula. Damn, baby girl. But ladies and gentlemen, can the rest of the cast beat this high score? Let's find out. Next, let's touch on the idiot that can't drive, and to be honest, the idiot that can't really act. let's talk about Biscuits, a character that is acted out by Cody Lightning. Probably the coolest name I've seen ever. Cody Lightning, are you kidding me? When looking at his serious scenes, we can talk about episode 1x2, 23 minutes in, where there's a very big flaw with his acting. His body posture does not give off serious vibes in the scene when this was the perfect time to flaunt your mainly alpha moves. Now, a major thing in acting is called context acting, where the actor should be acting and reflecting based on the context of everything happening, based on the situation, based on the environment. Now, in this specific scene, for context, Maya legit almost died jumping off a train onto his truck, yet he somehow has somewhat of a humorous posture as opposed to a serious worrisome one that someone in this situation realistically would have. Imagine your sweet mother was on this train, right? Is this gonna be the reaction you have when a loved one of yours barely makes this jump? Is this the reaction?
You almost died. Oh my God, Billy Jack, you okay, boy? Grandma's gonna kill me.
I'd personally say he should be all over her. He should be on the truck hugging her, being like, are you okay? Are you good? Come here. Everything, why'd you do that? Oh my God, are you safe? But instead, he's not even closing off that space, which is why I'm gonna give his serious acting a 3.7 out of 10. Seriously. But ladies and gentlemen, in a weird but twisted way, this flaw he has of very weird, awkward posture is actually his gift. And more specifically, it's his gift when it comes to happy scenes. Let's take a look at episode 1x2 again, 33 minutes and 50 seconds in. And this is when he accidentally reveals to Bonnie that Maya's in town. Because of his stiff body language we already mentioned, he doesn't move from the specific section of the frame. His hand moves when he's like, oops, sorry, call someone else. But it's a very stiff body language, which makes it funny, which makes him happy, humorous. And to be honest, also going back to the acting terminology we talked about typecasting, to be honest, his face is just meant to be a funnier type of character. He's meant to be a funny person-ish. I could never imagine this guy being a main character in an action movie. I can't imagine him as Tom Cruise. No offense, buddy. No offense. You have a great name, but no offense. So I'd give this section a 7 out of 10. And since Biscuit doesn't have any sad scenes where he's crying because he lost his Popeye's biscuit, this is more than enough for us to give him a ranking. He gets a total average of 10.7 out of 20, averaging him out to a 53%. I'm sorry, Biscuit. I'm sorry, bro. You got a 53%. I'm sorry. But what if I told you I'm not sorry, sweetheart? What if I told you you're a trash actor? What if I told you you barely passed? How would that make you feel? You guys like how I use the beats right there? Like I had like a little bit of patience right there. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, let's now move on to my favorite chocolate. Oh, Henry. But remove the O. Let's talk about Henry. And I'm gonna give you guys a heads up right now. Henry is actually one of the best actors at one specific thing, okay? So just bear with me, okay? Now, Henry is acted by 48-year-old Chaske Spencer. And if we look at this chocolate bar series scene, let's look at episode 1x3, 14 minutes in. In this scene, he's secretly signing to Bonnie to leave the ice rink because him and Maya are actually held captive in it. And here we get to see the real sheer panic that he can bring out. The way his body is very stiff because he's not trying to give away the fact that he's sign language, while also giving off that sign language in a very sharp and abrupt way. Ooh, it just gives off such a great panic. If you really zoom into his hands, you can really see he's moving with passion. Henry probably has the best sign language out of them all. Now, since Mr. Chaske doesn't have any sad or happy scenes, we'll give him a rating purely based off his serious scene, and we'll give him a 7.7 out of 10. His next step would definitely be to start relying on his face a little bit more, start using that eye acting we talked about, use micro expressions, use better beats. You can definitely do a lot of these other things. Now, with Chaske 77% out of the way, let's tie it back to the hot Latina family. Let's talk about Maya's sister, Bonnie, acted by 30-year-old Devery Jacobs. Let's find out if good acting runs in the genes. Bonnie's serious scene, we can look at episode 1x3, 17 minutes and 50 seconds in, when she reunites with her sister Maya after a very long time and confronts her on why she didn't reach out earlier. To be honest, the best way I can describe Bonnie is that she's a duplicate of Maya, but in a Walmart version. Her acting is also very good, but compared to Maya, it's a lot more toned down and delicate. In this instance, you can see it very, very well. Bonnie has a more compassionate face and does a lot more eye acting than body language or micro expressions or facial expressions. The main thing she uses is her eyes. In a side-by-side comparison with her sister, you can clearly see the emotion hits harder with Maya, while with Bonnie, it's still there, but once again, it's a lot more delicate and eye focused, which definitely is a good technique, but must be paired with other things to really nail that. On top of that, I actually wanted to do further research on Devery Jacobs, so I dug up her past roles, and if we look at her role in Reservation Dogs and see the specific clip where she finds out her mother died, once again, what do you see? You see an actor that expresses with her eyes. And while it's still good and could be deemed as realistic for many people, it's not great. There is still hope, because if you look at episode 1 × 5, the finale, exactly 24 minutes and 24 seconds in, when Bonnie is signing that Kingpin wants to kill her family, now we're finally getting some more of that raw expression that I want to see. Her sign language is more abrupt, her body language is nervous, and her lips are abnormally quivered in this weird duck face type of way. She does have that ability and range to be great, but she just hasn't learned to unleash it naturally yet. All in all, I'd give her serious acting a 7.5 out of 10. Since she doesn't have any super happy or sad scenes in the show, this will be her final ranking, 75%. My baby girls, make sure you subscribe, because this is the final Marvel Echo acting ranking.